Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Lynn Sharif here. I am here on Sunday to have what I call Sunday Soul Chats. And my Sunday Soul Chats, I do them because I have been married. This is my second and last marriage. My husband and I say that this marriage is like being in the mob. That means that you get in, but you don't get out. You only get out when you die. So this being our last marriage, I really do have a heart for marriage. I really want to see people happily married. And it's a struggle. It definitely is a struggle. There are marriages failing, marriages that are struggling. And what I believe is that if I can say one thing to help one person and even one couple get through one challenge, then that is what I believe God placed me here for. And it's interesting because if you are a Christian, when you first accepted Jesus Christ, I remember you're like, oh my gosh, everybody should be saved. And when I was in a happy marriage, and I'm not saying I'm not in a happy marriage now, but I'm just saying that being married, I'm like, oh my goodness, everybody should be happily married. But I know it's not that simple. I know it's not. And so that is the reason that I come on here to say one thing to one person, to one couple, to help you through one struggle. That's the only thing that I'm focused on. And so on tonight, what I want to talk about is that pressure has a purpose. Pressure in your marriage has a purpose. Every negative situation that happens in your marriage is not necessarily and only because the enemy wants you to fail. It is true that the enemy wants you to fail because the enemy, the devil, is interested in foiling any plan that God has put in place, and God created marriage. So of course the enemy is looking to take advantage of any situation. But I really believe that God initiates or even allows certain difficult scenarios to come up in your marriage because that thing, that pressure, that fire is designed to squeeze, press, and burn you so that those things that are not conducive to really having a long, happy marriage can be squeezed, burned, and fall off. That needs to happen in order to have the marriage that God created for you. So every bad thing that happens for a purpose, if you'll let it. When I consider my own marriage, and my husband and I have been married, we've been together over 20 years, and we have an anniversary coming up. When we've had those tough seasons, and tough seasons will absolutely come, one reaction that could come up is to say, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm done. I don't want to do this. But my husband and I, when we had that tough season, we believed that when we took our vows back in January 2001, that we were meant to be together. And we could not imagine our lives moving forward without each other. And so if we believe that God put us together, and if we have determined that we are not going to do this thing on our own, then the fire and the trial that we have to go through, we're going to have to go through it together. And so as a result of those trials, those things that needed to fall off, burn off, be squeezed out, happen. And so for me, one of my issues was pride. I called it a mask. I had a mask on. It was not that I wasn't loving authentically. It's just that there was that one little small piece that the way I would actually handle it, in order to not completely be crazed, I just kind of shut down. I would shut down in certain scenarios. And so I call it my mask. But I really believe that God allowed a season to come where my mask, like an earthquake, that thing had to fall off the wall and fall into 1,000 pieces so that Because really, God wants this marriage to be completely naked. He wants it to be without barrier. And the barrier that he had for me was my pride. But it may not be the same for you. Maybe God is sending that trial to burn off your unchecked anger, to burn off your spirit of always needing to be right, burning off the admission that that thing that your spouse has been saying is wrong and you know they're right and you've been telling them that they're wrong, that really needs to fall off, that needs to be squeezed out. It needs to be burned off so that you can have what God really wants to be, a naked situation where we are without barrier between each other. That is the point. He takes two imperfect individuals and puts them together. I got my stuff, you got your stuff. Are we really in touch and see each other's stuff? And then we can walk this thing the way he intended. So if you are in a season, because marriage is a season of peaks and valleys, just because you're going through a valley doesn't mean that God doesn't ordain the thing. It doesn't mean that you are not meant to be together. It's just that life and marriage is a series of peaks and valleys. And so when you're in that valley situation, I would like for you to pray these three things. Lord, what do you want me to learn? Because it's not always about what your spouse needs to learn. I need for you to own, what is it that I need to learn? And Lord, what behavior do you want me to leave? Because if you ask him, he will answer. If you don't ask, no, you have to be willing and open to hear his answer. So what, Lord, behaviors do you need me to leave? And lastly, Lord, can you help us to preserve our love? We believe that we are meant to be together and we're going to walk this path together. We are in a valley season and those seasons will come. It's not going to be July and December. So know that the season will pass, but in that season, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to leave? And please help us to preserve our love. Okay? So I appreciate you joining me tonight. If there is something that I've said that you know a couple, perhaps they need to hear it. Can you please share? Please share this video. Because I want you to win. I want you to have a marriage that you dreamed about. It is not going to come without a price. You're going to have to work for it, but I promise you that it will be worth it. So thanks so much for joining. You have a great week. Bye-bye.